Okay, let's just make sure the volume levels are good. They're looking good. The airplane's very, very loud though, so I'm going to turn the airplane down a little bit. Just checking the live stream so I can monitor it on a laptop. Okay. Seems to be working. So let's run through the startup procedure for the ATR. So this has just been updated this evening. I'm not sure what's in the update yet, but we'll see if anything different happens as we are starting the aircraft. So first thing we do is check the controllers, which I've already done. So then inside the aircraft we are going to change the time of day and make it a bit earlier in the day because it's very late in the evening already. So we're going to go for mid-afternoon. We are going to connect the ground power. So to do that we go over here, we go to the aircraft tab and we connect the ground power to the aircraft because it is available. Overhead, so apologies, I'm not going to be jumping into the live stream chat straight away because I'm looking at the checklist on the same screen. Control 6 takes us overhead and we go and turn the batteries on, which is here. Yeah, there's definitely some delays going on there, isn't there? So back down in the cockpit, we wait for these screens to come up. So they will show that T sign for about 20 seconds normally. So we just wait for the systems to boot up. And that's looking better. So then go back overhead and turn the external power on. So second column at the bottom, we're going to go and turn on the beacon light. Sorry, beacon to off, I should say. So, and nav to on. There we go. So I'm just going to go and get rid of these tooltips. I hate tooltips. Okay, we can see what we're doing now. Third column at the top, hydraulic power. We're going to go and turn on the blue, auxiliary and green pumps. Prop brake section, we're going to uncage, switch it on, and then recage it. Main electrical power section, second column in the middle, which is right here. We're going to go DC Gen 1 to on and DC Gen 2 to on. So, sorry, over here, what we're doing. DC Gen 1 to on, DC Gen 2 to on. So they're showing off, which means that... Oh, has this changed? These are now on by default. Okay. There are changes then. Signs section, third column at the bottom, seatbelts to on. Emergency exit lights to armed. Windshield heating, left and right to on. They will show faults at the moment, that's not a problem. AC world, electric power, ACW Gen 1 and 2. See, these are on now. They didn't used to be. So they're already showing fault. Annunciation light to bright. Oxygen supply, main supply to on. Okay, so that's as it used to be. So this needs to, my checklist probably needs to be updated if I want to make it even more terse now. So go down in the cockpit, configure the flight guidance control panel. So that's the MCP as we call it in other aircraft. So we're going to go and calibrate the altimeter while we're here, so I've just done that. And let's have a look at the airfield we're taking off from. So there's 8 knots crosswind. We'll take off runway 30 then and then turn around. Just because it makes it easy for us to backtrack to the closer end of the runway. So we want 296 degrees on our heading. We are going to be using heading mode extensively today. So we'll go for heading select straight away. And let's go and spin this round to get it to 296 degrees. So we're at 300 at the moment. There's 296. Set an altitude target for an initial climb. We're only going to climb to a few thousand feet today. So we'll go to, say, 2,500 for our initial climb. And then we're not going to be using comm radios or the nav radios, so we'll be using GPS mode throughout. I'm just trying to think. On the multifunction control display unit, the MCDU, so control 4, we're not going to have much to do in here because we're not programming a route. So we're going to init that, we're going to go for position initialization. We'll pick up the GPS position. Oh, this has changed. Interesting. So we're going to wait. I wonder if this still works the same. Yes, it does. You can hold the keys down to default the data. So then, come back out of there. Let's have a look around in here then to see if anything else has changed in this update. That's pretty much the same. So we could do a from and to, the beginning and the end of the route. So LFRG to LFST. LFRG to LFST. Drop that in and execute it. Obviously there's a discontinuity in the middle at the moment, so we'll clear that discontinuity out because we're going to be doing heading mode all the way. We're not going to be using the guidance system. We've probably put enough in, to be honest. Go to the cockpit. We've done everything there because we haven't got a route to deal with. Let's get rid of that caution for the moment. So control 6 overhead, engine pumps 1 and 2 to on, which is first column here, so turn them on. So then we're going to do engine start now. I don't think we need to push back. There's nothing. No, we're out in the middle of the tarmac, which is good. So ignition knob A goes to start A. And then start 2 goes to on. We look down here and we should see the NH is climbing. When it goes past 10%, we can move the condition lever to feather. Oh, and I've lost my connection apparently. The servers are really having problems at the moment, aren't they? hope this isn't a portent of the future with Flight Sim 2024 in development. Okay, so engine has stabilized. So then Control 6, go back overhead, move this back to abort. External power goes to off, because we're now using the engine to generate power. So Control 3, go to the aircraft tab, remove the ground power, close the doors, remove the wheel chocks, make sure we've got the parking brake on there, or the tow brakes at least. So then on the EFIS display, show the performance data on, so go to the, where is it, the perf page, confirm the takeoff data, and that will make the numbers go blue on the ribbon. We set the trim to match the EWD screen, so it's over here. Yeah, you can see it's offset at the moment. Okay, so Control 6, beacon light goes to on. I'm going to get ready to start the engines now. Propeller brake, uncage the propeller brake, turn it off, recage it so the propeller will start spinning. So we should see now if we look outside, okay, what's going on? This has changed. Let's have a good look overhead and see what we've got going on. Fuel pump is on. Did we shut the engine too early earlier? Let's restart it. No, it's actually running, but the prop brake hasn't kicked in. What's going on? We have released the prop brake, it's off. But that's saying it's on. Interesting. So we have a problem. This appears to be a bug. We've got the fuel pump on. We've got the prop brake off. The engine is running, but the propeller is not spinning. I wonder if you have to move this to auto to make it happen. Yes, you do. No, that's just the pitch of the propellers. I can hear something spooling up though. What is going on? Let's see if we can get the other one started. So it's coming up through 10, advance to idle. Something very odd going on here, isn't there? It's almost like the prop brake is stuck on. And if I'm not mistaken, that's a fault in the aeroplane. How strange. The prop brake won't release. So obviously we can advance that on and we'll get this propeller going full speed. Yeah, you can see it accelerating there, look. So what's wrong with this one? Well, given that appears to be a bug, I'm not going to be too ashamed to come in here and say, give me ready for taxi mode, please. Let's see if it fixes itself. Did it actually... That's not clickable anymore. Really? Should we shut that engine back down then? So we're going to kill engine number 2 on purpose. Oh, and look. I think the animation just wasn't happening. Because it's coming back up to speed now, look. That was a huge bug in the aeroplane. How annoying is that? Okay, so we carry on with the checklist. And we hope and pray that everything's going to work. So we uncage the transformer rectifier unit and we cage it. We go to probes, so let's center this up. Third column in the middle, which is over here. Capped on, standby on, first officer on. So they were on now by default, so we don't have to do those anymore either. Cockpit. Oh, maybe me pressing the button did do some of this stuff then. So set flaps 15 degrees, so let's just go and check the flap lever to see where that ends up. Yeah, we're at 15 degrees flap. So go to the serve page of the EFIS display. Turn yeah, so it has taken the state change, so transponder is on. We can remove the wheel chocks, which we had already done. We're sat here on the tow brakes, on the emergency brake actually. So parking brake, gust lock can be removed. So we've now got controls. We can take the parking brake off and we should start rolling, I think. Oh, they fixed that though, didn't they? So we are going to slowly taxi out. After we remove the tow brakes. I keep forgetting that this aircraft has very different brakes than lots of the others. So we should have the taxi lights on. Let's just stop this for a moment. Strobes. Yeah, strobes can come on. Taxi and takeoff are on already. We'll put the landing lights on as well. Back in the airplane. It still accelerates like crazy. So we'll just backtrack down the runway and turn back around in a moment. Okay, engines are in notch. It's quite a crosswind. It's really hitting that tail and pushing us across the runway. So let's go for max power just to get the acceleration. Right, the plane is starting to rotate on its own, so we're pushing to the end. Look at that crosswind. Gear up, back to notch. Just trimming us out. Flaps up. Crosswind really does rotate the aeroplane where it hits the tailplane. It's quite amazing. Okay, so yaw dampers on, autopilot on. We were in heading mode already. We'll do a interesting. So we've got nav mode, heading mode, flight director. We're in FMS mode, but we don't really need to be. So we can do a speed hold, but we'll just go for vertical speed today. Oh, that SIB's frozen. It's been doing that a lot since it was up, since the world update. So whether the servers just can't keep up with it, I don't know. Oh, of course, we're already at our target altitude. So let's move the target altitude to 5,000. And then go vertical speed to get there. And we'll move it on to 1,000 feet a minute. And we'll have a look at the map and see we're still going straight lining it. So we're going to go 81 degrees. So let's spin the heading bug round to 81. Whoops. So we're just watching the numbers down here to do that. 80 will be fine for the moment. We'll have to account for the wind anyway. So let's just keep an eye as well. The vertical speed is 1,000 feet a minute, which is what we asked for. So it's all working quite nicely. We're in notch mode, flaps are up, gear is up. We're okay. Right, I can catch up with the live stream now. So yeah, this aeroplane was just updated, but I just found a bug in it. I don't know whether it was a one-off, but the prop brake wouldn't release, or it did, sorry, the animation on engine number 2 didn't happen. It was very odd, and I went to shut the engine down and suddenly the blades were spinning. Very, very odd. So there's yet another bug in it, a big one this time. So let's see what we can have. Let's get the nav display up. And obviously this is going to show the straight line to our destination, which isn't much use to us. We're not really going to use navigation today, so it might be nice just to see other things on here. Okay, you're just coming up towards 5,000 feet. So, we're going to visit Rouen first. There is a VOR we can use, 11680. So let's have a play with that, shall we? So if we go to nav here and go 11680. Oh, what is it doing? I didn't ask it to do that at all. Escape. 11680. And then transfer that to active. And it didn't do it. And we're overspeeding now. Of course we are. Only by 2 knots, but it's enough to make it have a fit about it. Let's retry that again. Perhaps we have to press enter on it first. 11680 and enter. Yeah, we do. And then transfer over. So then we should get this, if we switch this over to use radios. We've got course knob here, so we want to go, ideally, let's work this out. Measure distance, 93 degrees. Oh, this isn't a VOR, is it? Oh, this is a really pain in the ass. Sorry for the language. If you look at this carefully, it's, although it's saying it's a VOR, it's not a fully fledged one. We might be able to get it to work, let's see. So, measure distance. So, ideally, we want to come into it from this line. So we want the 81 degree radial into it. So if we go on course and go, there's the 60, 70, about there. So it's saying at the moment we are off to the left, which we absolutely are. So we'll cut across 30 degrees. We'll try and fly 120. Yeah, and we're going to pull the CDI back in. So we're going to fly, what we're doing here is flying back towards that 80 degree radial into the Rouen VOR. You can enjoy the view from outside now. So that's Le Havre over there. Oh, I wouldn't go, I was just reading the comments, I wouldn't say the aeroplane's rotten. It's trying to do a lot and it's complicated. So yeah, it's just a shame that bugs keep creeping into it. It's interesting that a lot of the button positions have changed in this update. So the default when you power the aircraft up is changed in terms of, you know, the state things are in. Change the range on the display here. So if we do this, can we pull up? If we go to nav here, terrain, hurrah! So we at least get to see the river. What else can we do? Weather? Oh, let's turn weather off apparently, but terrain, traffic. We can do synthetic vision as well. That shows you your field of view. Or turn it off. Okay, so we are almost back on the track we wanted to be on to come into the VOR. So we're going to spin this back around now on the heading bug. And we could actually go for nav mode, which will make it chase it. Yeah, so if I just put on nav mode, it will follow that 80-degree radial. So it will level itself out now. We don't have to worry about it. If we look on here, we can see, yeah, we're pretty much following the route. Obviously we're going to the VOR, not to the waypoint I've got marked on the map. So we are going to here, which is roughly parallel. But we're going to come off autopilot anyway and have a look around Rouen. So should we descend down? So we need to set altitude targets. Say 2,500. And we'll go vertical speed. So we're just crossing the river a couple of times and then we'll be in Rouen. So it's just over here. Could do with descending a bit more quickly, couldn't we? But I'm just worried about overspeeding, so I'm pulling the throttles back. Comes down at 1,500 feet a minute. Throttles back even further. And the sim has frozen again. There are some massive issues going on with the servers at the moment. Now, is the simulator going to disappear? Because this is what it did the other night. No, it's recovered. Okay, so we're just approaching Rouen. We'll do a circle around. Yeah, you can see, look, it's not loading the data in for the textures. The servers are having an absolute nightmare. Maybe when we get a bit closer, it will start doing it. Yeah, I think it... maybe... no, actually, maybe Rouen isn't one of the cities that's been updated. I know Amiens has. I know Reims has. So yeah, maybe we're expecting too much. Yeah, this is just normal 3D assets, and they have put some custom 3D assets in various places, but they're a bit random. This is looking better over here, but it's still not great. The trouble is, photogrammetry spoils you, doesn't it? Okay, never mind. Let's set the altitude target back to 5,000. Set the vertical speed back to Actually, should we do... we could do indicated airspeed mode, couldn't we? So it's going to go for 220, which is fine. So we want to go 60 degrees on the heading. So this needs to go back to heading mode. And that'll be into a headwind, so we should hold 60 degrees pretty accurately. Okay, so we say goodbye to Rouen. So, I'm not going to try and pronounce your name, Kokoti. On about the USB port causing freezing, I don't think it is that. It's something else. I think it's to do with maybe memory management on this particular machine, this combination of hardware. I really don't know. Now and again, this freezes really badly. Never have got to the bottom of it. Some days I can go, or some weeks I can go, you know, for days at a time without it freezing, and then it will do it 2 or 3 times in the space of half an hour. It's very odd. So while we're flying along, shall we go and have a play with the new weather in Navigraph? So to get our route, we'll go into LittleNavMap and we will go to flight plan and get copy the flight plan route description to the keyboard, to the so we want to go VFR and we want to do a new flight. We want to go, that's the overspeed is kicking in again. So there's our flight. It won't understand what that is, but it will understand that. There we go. So we are en route now between Rouen and the next city, Amiens. So what you can do now in Navigraph is pull up, no doubt a lot of you will have read about this, you can get the weather displayed directly on here. Obviously we've got almost clear skies, which doesn't really show us anything. But we can show temperature maps, we can show the META information, so you can see, you know, the readouts from the META. You can get turbulence mapped on. So if we do go and put the radar on, the weather radar, there you go, so you can see some areas where there is cloud and storms. You can see that accurately done, and you can actually play it back over the last several hours to see it moving, so you can anticipate. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Turn that back off. So we're cruising along 5,000 feet or thereabouts. It's wavering around a little bit in the wind. Is there another VOR we can use? Let's have a look at the LittleNavMap. No, nothing obvious. Okay, we could, depending on the range, because it's in the same direction. Cambrai. It's got an 80-mile range. It's going to be right on its limit, isn't it? 11260. Should we try it? So go back into here. So 11260. Enter, switch it, No. Oh, no, it has got the signal. It took a second to pick it up. That's really cool. So if we turn the course round, it should be directly in front of us or thereabouts. Yeah, there we go. So if we want to read the DME, we can bring up the bearing from Nav1, which will give us the distance as well. So we've got 70 miles to the VOR. So if we know the distance between the Cambrai VOR and, which we can do in LittleNavMap easily, if we measure this, so 38, so we just need to subtract 38 from 68, which will leave 30 obviously. So we're about 30 miles out. Obviously we could use GPS to do this, but that's boring, isn't it? I don't know why, I'm just reading the live stream comments, I don't know why everyone's getting so angry about there being a new simulator coming. It's been 4 years, or it will have been by the time the new one comes out. There will be things that they wanted to improve that they can't without breaking it. So this is a breaking change, so they're taking the opportunity. And there may be a new graphics engine, it could look a lot better. Yeah? And you know, using the same data files for aeroplanes, it could just be that the simulator is going to massively improve to take advantage of hardware that's changed over the last 4 years. So have they sorted the fact that there's zero prop drag? I thought they sorted that quite early on. I know a lot of people started complaining, and this happens a lot with Flight Simulator, and it's kind of one of my bugbears about the community, really. A lot of people start complaining about things because they've downloaded a ripped off pirated copy of an aeroplane, and then they haven't got access to updates, or maybe not as quickly as people who've gone and bought it, who get emails from the developers when there's a new version. And they carry on complaining for weeks or months or whatever, when the actual story is the plane was updated very quickly. I mean, not always. Some of the aeroplanes don't get updated. But it does make me laugh when you see people complaining about something you know has been fixed, and you think, yeah, I know where you got your aeroplane from then. Or people just maybe haven't flown a plane for a while and they're not even aware that it's been fixed. Not all developers are great at communication either, which doesn't help. Yeah, quite often I'll go digging around. If I'm going to go and fly a particular aeroplane before I start the simulator, I might go and look and just check the version of the aeroplane that's available for download, or when it was last updated. If they tell you that, even sometimes they don't, and you have to go download it and look in the file. If you're not aware of this, what you can do, if you go into the community folder, for example, say we look at the CRJ from Aerosoft. If I go and look in the manifest.json file, it tells you the package version of the aeroplane. Yeah, and you can do that for any of the aeroplanes. So say if we go into the Embraer 121, if I look in the manifest, there's the version of the aeroplane, 1.5 in this case, which was from the other day when they updated it. So that's how you can find out what you have got. I'm not sure if you use add-on linker, which I do. I'm not sure if it tells you the versions. So if I open my... I've just rearranged this to make it more sensible. Oh yeah, you do get the versions. So add-on linker does actually interrogate those JSON files then. So you can look at a glance and see what you've got. So just reading Elliot's comments in the live stream chat, I'm not pointing a finger at anybody in particular. I'm just saying there's a lot of it going on in the community. I spent half an hour arguing with a pirate about a couple of months back and ended up having to block him and ban him because he was just absolutely unapologetic. Thought it was his right that software can't be protected, therefore it's free reign to take what you want. And yeah, it just frustrates me that people will complain about something they've got for nothing. You know, in that situation. And in this situation, that's exactly what this person was doing. They were complaining. Actually, it was quite amusing. They weren't just complaining that the plane they had downloaded for nothing didn't work the way they wanted it to. They were complaining that they couldn't download it from where they wanted it to as well. Right, I think we are approaching the next destination. But on about the whole piracy problem with Flight Sim though, it's a huge problem, and I'm amazed Asobo haven't done more. Whoa, look at that, the aeroplane is not slowing down. I've dumped the throttles. There we go. So it's a huge problem. I'm amazed, because I work as a software developer, so I've got half an idea of how they might fix it. I'm amazed they haven't done anything. All they need is a receipt system for the devs to use. I'm guessing they would make the devs pay for it, which is why the devs then wouldn't use it, and you know, you can't win all of a sudden. When Flight Sim first came out, the aeroplanes were encrypted, which then stopped people from being able to fix or embellish them very easily. So then they removed that restriction, and I think they only recently did it for scenery as well. And of course the problem with encryption is people then break the encryption, and then you might as well throw the keys away. Which is what happened with DVDs. I don't know if anybody remembers that one back in the day. Somebody broke the encryption of DVDs, gave the key to the world, and therefore all DVDs all over the world were breakable all of a sudden.
Terrain ahead.
It's a circular argument that will never ever be solved or go away. So we can see there's some nice scenery down here.
Terrain ahead.
So this is obviously one of the custom areas that they've gone to town on with photogrammetry, high-res photogrammetry, and you can see it does make a huge difference, doesn't it?
Too low terrain. Too low terrain.
It really is quite impressive.
Too low terrain.
This aeroplane really doesn't like doing this, does it? Okay. So next heading we need is 118 degrees, which we're just coming round to. Oops. Move the heading bug round. autopilot on. We should be able to go indicated airspeed to get that. Speed controls over here, isn't it, if we wanted to go a bit faster, so it'll level out to get the speed up and then carry on. Yeah, the trim in this makes great noises, doesn't it? Sounds like Pac-Man. Okay, let's have a look. So on our way to Reims or Reims, depending on which country you come from and how you pronounce it. So we've got a crosswind, 6 knots that we're experiencing in the aeroplane, which will push us back across to the track eventually. We could steer into it slightly, give it a couple of extra degrees on the heading. I need to go a bit higher altitude, don't I? So the amount of thrust won't cause me to just tip into overspeed. It's quite frustrating, actually. The reason for it is because we're below 10,000 feet, and you're not allowed to go faster than 250 knots below 10,000 feet. It's not a structural limit. It's a law, an air law. Okay, so we've got a few minutes until we get to Reims. Let's see what data Navigraph gives us if we zoom in on it. It doesn't really give you much, does it, on its VFR map? It's a shame. I wonder if they will come out with some sort of satellite overlay. Would be useful. Though you can do world map, I guess. I think that's just the, yeah. VFR gives you the overlays. IFR gives you the Jefferson tracks. You know, the corridors and airways. Mike, I just saw your comment about the the BF 109, not ME 109. I don't know if I'm going to buy the Messerschmitt. I've never really covered military aircraft. Although saying that, I've got the 108, which was the trainer that was built, you know, for a few years before the 109. And the 108 has a similar configuration undercarriage, so yeah, it has the same problem. But to be honest, I would rather get either the IL, what's it called? I've got the Cliffs of Dover game, but the engine has been continued to be developed, hasn't it? There's a Tobruk add-on and a few others. So I'd rather get one of those or get the aeroplanes in DCS. So at least in DCS you can shoot each other. So it's really visible the outside view as we're passing over the French countryside. Should pull up LittleNavMap as well. Minimal, there we go. So we're en route to Reims, and we're going to go and have a nose around and look at the cathedral. So it's way out in front of us at the moment. Just measuring on the map here, it's about 50 miles out. So it shouldn't take too long. We'll be cruising at the moment, about 235 knots. Weather's quite clear, isn't it? Stormovik, that's the word. I was trying to remember the name. IL2 Stormovik. But yeah, the IL2 is a bit of a mystery itself, isn't it? That game engine has been around for at least 20 years, if not longer. But then the same is true of DCS. The core of DCS, I think it begins with the SU-27 game, which was an EGA game originally. Then it transferred over to high resolution VGA. But yeah, the original flanker is kind of the grandfather of the source code that you now see in DCS. IL-2. Was it actual aircraft type? Yeah, yes it was, of course it was, yeah, because it's simulated in the original IL-2 simulator. But yeah, the descendants of that simulator are very good fun. I've got some stuff that I'm going to be recording with DCS soon, but I want to get a head tracker first. So it's just priorities really with money at the moment. But eventually I'll get a head tracker and then I'll be able to cover DCS properly. And it will obviously improve the videos in Flight Sim as well, because I'll be able to look around the cockpit while doing something else, without having to use the mouse to do that. But the yeah, the head tracking really comes into play with DCS more than anything. The other thing I've been looking at recently, reading up in the book and learning how to do, is operating a physical flight computer. So I bought, some of you may remember, I bought some materials to do with learning to fly properly. And one of those things is this hardware flight computer. It looks a bit like a circular slide rule, I guess. And it allows you to do things like doing conversions and calculating wind shear, so you know, offsets of heading to offset the wind, things like that. It's very good. So I'll be doing some videos about how to use one of those. The one I've got is a CRP1, which is for GA flight, general aviation. There's a CRP5 as well, which has got a lot more conversion factors on it, which you would use for air transport pilots, that sort of stuff. I haven't got a head tracker, I just use the mouse, so I hold the right mouse button down and look around, and I use the keyboard to drag myself around the cockpit. So that's how I do it. There's no magic involved. So I quite often will be controlling with the joystick while looking around with the right mouse button down. So controlling my head and the aeroplane, one in each hand. Sometimes I suffer from a lack of talent, just like everybody else, though, and get into all kinds of pickles. But I always leave mistakes in the videos if I do make one, especially with procedures and stuff, because how else are people going to learn unless they see somebody else mess up and get themselves back out of it? It does frustrate me when you watch, even with the professional pilots, they'll execute and perform a perfect flight, but you'll see cuts in the video and you think, yes, I know what happened there. Or they may have cut it on purpose to, you know, just to tell a story. They may have changed their mind about the storytelling as well. It may not be that they actually cocked up. It could be just, you know, they've done several different things and they're cutting it together into a story to tell. So I've never gone down that route of doing kind of artificially produced, you know, fly past views and all the rest of it, purely because it would take 2 or 3 times longer to make a video. So Nathan, absolutely. While you're looking around with the view, it can affect the joystick input. So you do have to be careful of that. Completely agree with what Mike's saying about spending on aeroplanes and stuff. The only reason I'm able to go and buy the aeroplanes is because I've got a monetized YouTube account now, and because all of you guys are watching the videos. That pays for my aeroplanes. It's kind of self-funding. I have put myself in the hole from time to time with buying things that I couldn't really afford because I wanted to get a, you know, get a video out about it. But that's the way of the world, isn't it? What's the saying? They speculate to accumulate, something like that. But it's not always easy, especially when new aeroplanes come out. Things like the Antonov, the 225, and the little propeller plane. They took so much investment of time to figure out how they worked. The same was true with the Transall. That really frustrated me. I spent a whole night learning the procedures, working them out for myself, reverse engineering the aeroplane, and then they released the documentation for it several hours after they'd released the aeroplane. So everybody was operating, everyone was doing the same. Everyone was operating under the assumption that there was going to be no documentation, and then suddenly it appeared out of nowhere. And it was quite funny then, because I went back through my notes and I pretty much nailed it. There were certain things I'd done out of order, but I'd pretty much figured it out. It was kind of a huge validation in a way, but oh, if only they'd released it with the aeroplane. It's funny just reading that comment about, yeah, imagine if we could simulate damage to the airframe, or simulate being grounded. It would be a game changer, wouldn't it, if you had some sort of financial system in the game. It would be a great game mechanic. where you have to look after the aeroplane and you have a budget. So maybe, you know, until you've earned enough money, you can't go and operate the big planes. Although saying that, that doesn't work, does it? Because a transport pilot, a commercial pilot, flies for a company. They're not paying for anything themselves. The company is. Okay, so we're just coming up on our next destination. So we're going to come off the autopilot, pull the throttles back. We're going to turn right first and then left. So let's see a rainbow right over the 10. We're going to descend down and then come in low across the 10. We'll follow the main road in, shall we? So this is another one of the cities that apparently has had photogrammetry done, I think. So we'll find out very shortly. Pretty good scenery, isn't it? So obviously here's the main focus of the scenery update. Can we get over nearer the window? Okay. So we want 110 degrees or thereabouts to get to the next destination. Climbing back out to 5,000 feet, we'll put it into indicated airspeed climb mode. So it's going to hold 180 knots on the climb. So any excess power will be turned into climb rate, so it's going 2,000 feet a minute, which isn't too bad going at all, really. So do we have a VOR down here? Yes, we do. That's Takeoff. I wonder if the radios in this will work with Takeoff. Should we find out? So 116.8. About to find out. So that was the frequency we had earlier. So 116.8. Is it going to pick up? It may not work with Takeoff. Depends on the aeroplane. Although we are a long way out. It's got 130 mile range though, and we're well inside that. So yeah, it doesn't look like it understands Takeoff. To slow down again, stop ourselves from overspeeding, and we're on the way to Nancy. So if we go, and the Place Stanislas is the place that's been modelled in Nancy. After we visit there, we're going to go to Strasbourg and land. It's a shame, isn't it, that the VFR map in Navigraph isn't just a little bit better. It's very good, I guess, in terms of showing you sectors and things like that. I'm sure they'll update it. Oh, excuse me. It's been a long day. Went running earlier. So, full work day. Went running. Went grocery shopping. Came back, turned the simulator on. I'm doing the couch to 5k at the moment. So I've used to run regularly, but I haven't run for a couple of years, so I'm having to kind of get my legs to remember what they're doing. Oh yes, someone just commented, I completely didn't read my own notes on this. I've put the power management on takeoff all the way, which explains why we have been so eager to accelerate like a freight train. Not that it really affects this aeroplane, because this is a little bit like the CRJ in that regard. I don't know if you've ever noticed. It's not actually going to do anything untoward. It will change the throttle curves a little bit, I guess, but the CRJ kind of reminds me of this. I didn't realise until somebody pointed out to me, a good friend called Hugh, that it's like one of those child's toys where you can operate the car controls on the back of the driver's seat, where you can flick the switches and do the things, but actually they're not really doing much underneath the hood. I guess a lot of the stuff in the simulator is guilty of that, isn't it? Oh, I don't know if I mentioned the I did the flight in La Takeoff the other night, the big French flying boat, and I had an electrical problem in the cockpit. The developers were watching us, and they went and did some digging and discovered that there was a bug in the airplane. They had got some of the internal wiring wrong, so they fixed it. I've actually been given the file, but obviously the rest of the world will have to wait a week or so until it reappears in the marketplace, I guess, for the update. Greta Thunberg will say, "You ruined my flight, you said child." So, I'm not going to try and pronounce your name. Ike, Insan, is that it? So, John, can I ask you a question? Of course you can. I've been spread eagled on the floor. So yeah, any questions anybody wants to shoot with, because the whole community is really great here as well. And to be honest, if you really want to ask a proper question and get written responses, the Virtual Flight Online forum is probably the best place, because then it's not just me. Because I know some things, as the comedy line goes, I don't know everything about either aviation or the simulator. Some people actually absolutely astound me with what they've learnt about how the simulator works or how aeroplanes work in the simulator. It all comes with practice, and of course I'm jumping planes all the time, which doesn't help. And obviously there's a lot of people out there who are real world pilots who will school me, because I've learnt the basics of flying an aeroplane somewhere near correctly. Obviously we're not doing it tonight. We would be flying an instrument route with this plane. We're just going for a look around at these cities, but so I've received a lot of really generous assistance from flight instructors and people like that who've emailed me and pointed out things for me to have a look at, and it's been really brilliant. So you may remember I did a series of videos doing things like standard turns and climbing turns, descending turns, spins, and crosswind landings and stuff like that. And yeah, I had help before I did them. Let's put it that way. Have you ever checked out the new... I can't see, there's a heart in the chat window that's getting in the way. The Highline livery. I don't tend to bother with liveries, which I know I should, but quite often I load the simulator with very few add-ons. I use add-on linker to switch things off and on. Just joined in for the first time. Have you seen the updated 42600 Highline? This is it. This is the updated 42600. Is that what you're talking about? Oh, I've not actually looked at it then. I've just got the stock livery on tonight. So I've updated the aeroplane, but I've not changed the livery. So when we finish the flight, I'll go have a look. Where are we, by the way? We're about halfway over to Nancy, so... Have we got plans to expand Virtual Flight Online to 2024, depending on how easy Asobo makes it? I think it will work out of the box. This actually is a really good topic. I have been thinking for a while or for a very long time, actually. The virtual airline at the moment, with a virtual flight online, uses an off-the-shelf system called VA Base. And obviously, yeah, it required an awful lot of configuration and setting up, with setting up the scheduled routes and the events and the what are they called? The tours. And it records flights with ACARS while you are flying. Now, I don't know if anybody else is of the same opinion, but I think ACARS is a bit of a pain. And yet, while it's nice to kind of try and fly correctly, ACARS very rarely judges you appropriately for the aircraft you're flying, because it can't be clever enough to do that. So I've actually been thinking of asking people, would they be happier if we just had a system where you could pick flights to go do and file manual PIREPs with a nice slick manual PIREP form and do away with ACARS? It's just an idea at the moment. And the other thing that kind of annoys me about ACARS is you have to have FSUIPC involved, and it's one more piece of... I know most people have already got FSUIPC, but in my mind it's one more piece of software that can go wrong. Also, if we just had manual PIREPs, it would mean that the Xbox users would be on a level footing with the PC users if you're just filling a form out saying here's the flight I did. But by the same token, this kind of shoots a hole through all of it. Volanta already does it. Volanta already has challenges. It doesn't really have tours. Yeah, it's an interesting one. So William is asking, was there a recent update to the ATR? Yes, there was, and we're flying the updated ATR. It was updated today as far as I'm aware. But someone was just saying in the live stream chat that there is a new livery available, a Highline livery, which I'm not seeing yet. I really, really hate that they've got these animations on the propeller bosses. I noticed a video went out today, I don't know if anybody's seen it yet, a preview of the dash that SimWorks Studios have been working on. And that's got animated nose bosses as well. See, Asobo figured out a long time ago not to do that. Or, sorry, not Asobo, but some of their development partners figured out, no, don't, just show a shiny nose boss when it's at speed. And just put a static image there, and it will, or static object, and it will look a lot better. Anyway, can't complain too much because the simulator aircraft, on the whole, are pretty fantastic, aren't they? Okay, so we're getting close to Nancy, so we're about 35 miles out, maybe 30 miles out. So we should be there fairly soon. We're doing 230 knots. Zipping along. While we're flying along, should we go and have a wander around? Oh, the doors do work in this. I'd forgotten if they did or not. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Can you open the... No, you can't open the baggage doors. That would be the icing on the cake, wouldn't it? level of detail is just absolutely ridiculous. This is where we tell the cabin crew we can see daylight through the door. Apparently that happened in a real flight. I don't know if it's an urban myth or not. Somebody pointed out to stewardess that they could see, they could hear whining, I think, and then they looked and they could see, I think it was on the side door of the airframe. Obviously this doesn't have side doors, but they pointed out to a stewardess that they could see light at the edge of the door, and the stewardess went and had a look, or steward, and threw up over the door. So you imagine if you went and looked at the seal at the edge of the door and saw daylight through it and your immediate reaction was to throw up. Again, it could be an urban myth, who knows. Right, should we go and close those doors actually before we get going? So okay, where was the door? There it was. So, I guess we just carry on straight lining it. The city's over here by the look of it. Over here. So we'll start descending. We've got to fly over the top of the hills to get to Strasbourg. Unless we do land here, of course. We're on the edge of overspeeding. There aren't really any airfields nearby, are there? Oh, there's a small one over here. Crossmare. I'll go for Strasbourg, it'll be more fun. It's a lovely modelled aeroplane, isn't it? Looks the part. We're about 10 miles, no, 5 miles out. No, 8 miles out even. So we've got to cross the river yet. I was just thinking about following that river. I'm not sure what that sound reminds me of. Is it Missile Command, maybe? That gives away my age, doesn't it? So this is the river just coming along here. Yes, it is. Let's go straight line it straight into the built-up area. Or do we do a dam buster kind of approach along the river? I'm amazed we're not getting warnings with bank angles. Obviously this aircraft doesn't do that.
Terrain ahead. Sink rate. Terrain ahead. Terrain ahead. Sink rate. 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 500. Sink rate. Sink rate. Terrain ahead. Terrain ahead. Terrain ahead. Pull up. 200.
That was a bit close. The main town's down here. Wondering where there's a user point here. Wondering which building it is. Is it the church maybe? Oh, it's this one here, isn't it? Okay. 94 degrees we're looking for. We could land here though, couldn't we? There is an airfield right on the edge of the city. Rather than carrying on to Strasbourg, should we land here for a change? So there's the runway. Which way's the wind? So we need to come in runway 03. Okay, let's loop around then. initial approach coming up, runway 03. Everything for speed. Okay, gear can come down.
$500. $200. $100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
The legendary reverse pitch on the propellers, and yeah, look how fast it stops it. It's hilarious, isn't it? Okay, so taxi lights can stay on, the strobes can come off. Don't really fit here, do we? Okay, can we get the ground power unit? We can. That's interesting. Even though we plugged it in, we can't use it. Oh well. So somebody was on about the aeroplane propellers. Yeah, they're pretty cool, aren't they? It didn't occur to me for the longest time why there are access panels here until I saw a diagram of a turboprop engine and realised that's the the turbines. So the turbine that is rotated by the exhaust gas from the gas turbine. So that's the access panel for it, and then you've got obviously the drive shaft, gearbox and the propeller. Anyway, there we go. So there does appear to be a lot of changes in the ATR in the startup sequence. So buttons that were previously off are now on by default when you get in the airplane. We'll have to have a closer look at it, or I'll go through it and update my procedures to reflect that. So I'll do that one night when I'm not so tired. Shut it down like you stole it. Put it on jacks. That's funny. I guess we should go and turn. What should we do? Let's go and have a look. So those can come off. The hydraulic power is complaining, obviously, because it shouldn't be like that. And engine bleed obviously is going to complain. So all the things with faults basically you can turn off now. That's all fine. That's fine. And then just turn the battery off, and it'll all go dark anyway. And then we lose control. It's interesting, in the Boeing family of aircraft, the MCP stays on for quite some time after you remove power. It's like it has its own capacitors or something. Anyway, does the door work on this? Can we control it from... I suppose we have to do it via the tablet, don't we? Main door. There it is. Put the wheel chocks in place. Open the service door as well. Put the ground power in place. Do we actually get a external power unit? No, we don't. Open the cargo door. It's very cool, isn't it? Right. I'm going to call it a night. I'm not sure when I'll be doing another video. Probably, as I said, it may well be the video looking at the CRP1 flight computer, showing people, you know, how you can calculate wind shear, things like that by hand, or, you know, sorry, not wind shear, but the how much to steer into or away from the wind. Would anybody be interested in a radio navigation refresher? So running, you know, around VORs, looking at how it works and explaining it as we go. So I did one a very long time ago. I haven't done it for a long time though. Just reading the comments. So yeah, I may do a VOR radio navigation refresher, because I've been reading about that in the book as well, so I know a bit more now than I used to. I used to know how to do it functionally. But yeah, it's always good fun to fly around picking up VORs, flying in the radials in and out of them, playing with distance measuring, doing triangulation, so we'll turn our position off on the map and work out where we are by drawing lines all over it. Do things like that. Okay, anyway, I'm going to call it an evening, and I'll see you again soon.